Good morning, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm Natalie Shirley, the Vice Chair of Convention and Visitor Development for the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber and President and CEO of the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. Today's Chamber Forum will highlight the impact that events have on Oklahoma City with a panel of speakers representing the spectrum of events that Oklahoma City hosts. Before we start that discussion, though, I'd like to recognize our continuing signature sponsor, Cox Business. Please help me welcome Ahi Park.
Thank you, Natalie. It's really amazing to see all the changes in our city over the past decade. Growing up here, I would have never thought Oklahoma City would be a destination city. But thanks to city and state officials, business leaders, and the great people of Oklahoma, we have everything you'd expect in a modern metropolis. I can't wait to hear from our panelists to see what else is in store for us. So on behalf of Cox Business, thank you for attending and enjoy your lunch.
Thank you. Thank you, Ahi. I'm also pleased to recognize our corporate sponsor, ADG. Thank you all. In the greater Oklahoma City area, the hospitality industry is the third largest and fastest growing industry in our region, directly accounting for more than 23,000 jobs and generating $2.25 billion in direct spending in Oklahoma County alone. Key to this industry's growth are the events hosted in venues throughout Oklahoma City. From corporate conferences to festivals, sporting events to concerts, events hosted in Oklahoma City drive the development of our hospitality industry. Moreover, in its most recent fiscal year, Oklahoma City exceeded $15 million in total hotel tax collections, an increase of 3.5% over fiscal year 2018. Now, when Oklahoma City hosts an event, it also has a significant impact on the perceptions that other people have about our community. When we invite new people to our market, we are exposing them to the Oklahoma City that we have built together, which in turn improves our overall brand on a national and international platform. And as you'll learn from our panelists today, some events in Oklahoma City are as much for us as they are for the visitor. There are events hosted throughout the year that celebrate our culture and tell our story in a way that has become part of our identity. I'm excited to dive deeper into the events that Oklahoma City is already hosting, to better understand the overall impact of these events and discuss potential areas of growth during today's panel discussion. But before we get to it, please enjoy your lunch, and I'll be back to you shortly to introduce our panelists. Thank you. Please continue to enjoy your lunch as we bring our panelists to the stage. Their complete biographies are in your programs, but please help me welcome Sue Hollenbeck, Director of Sports Development for the Oklahoma City Convention and Visitors Bureau. Lance McDaniel, the Executive Director of deadCenter Film Festival. Eric Oesch, the Co-Director, Director of Marketing and Public Relations for Red Earth, Inc., and Chris Semrau, General Manager of Chesapeake Arena. Please join me in welcoming all of our panelists to the stage today. Thank you for being here. Okay, they told me to take this out. There we go. All right, so what we're going to do is just go through a series of questions that have been sort of developed beforehand, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So let's get started with Chris today. After Oklahoma City landed the Thunder, there was a dip in the number of concerts that Chesapeake Energy Arena was able to host because of scheduling conflicts. Talk a little bit about how you recruit concerts to the arena and things that we could do to increase the number of concerts hosted at the arena.
Well, thank you for your question, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm fairly new to your community. I moved here about 1 year ago, and it's been a fantastic year, and everyone's been very welcoming, so thank you. One of the main laser-focused targets we had of last year is increasing not only the quantity, but the quality and diversity of touring content at the facility. And we do this with a very, very aggressive approach. We don't wait for the phone to ring. And we travel consistently every month, and we leverage the industry relationships that we have to try to bring more tours to Oklahoma City. But we're not only selling Chesapeake Arena, we're selling the local music scene and the community as a whole. We're very thankful over the past year that we have seen an increase. I think over the last year, we had 17 shows in 2018 and 24 this year, and 13 in the top 50 tours compared to 2 the year before. And currently, we're the 55th busiest venue in the country for touring events. So we're very, very thankful and owe a huge debt of gratitude to the community for supporting the events and buying tickets, which is the key to bringing events back. And when they do come, we go over the top with an elevated effort on the backstage experience. We want them to leave Oklahoma City with a stronger brand perception than they had when the bus pulled up in the morning. So we bring in local barbers and manicurists, and we have local Oklahoma City products that we give tailored gifts to all the members of the tour and the artists. And so we want them to leave wanting to come back to the facility. As far as the first part of your question about the date availability, it's just the natural partnership of having a tenant to have 40 plus dates a year that are going to be taken up. And there are times where opportunity may collide with a confirmed date, but we've worked on 2 things with the Thunder the past year. Number 1 is integrating with them fully and leveraging all of their assets to try to get more content to come to Oklahoma City and sell more tickets. And so the second part is to go out and tell that to decision makers across the country. Dates could be a challenge, but the Thunder's our secret weapon, not our hurdle. And so that's paid off huge dividends, and the industry knows that they're fully integrated, and that's a big reason for our success for the last year.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to jump all the way down to the end to Sue. Oklahoma City has a history of attracting high school and collegiate sporting events, with some of the most notable being the Women's College World Series and several NCAA Division I tournaments. Mm-hmm. Can you go into a little more detail about how different events have different impacts on the Oklahoma City economy and how we position ourselves to attract the types of sporting events that we all want to host?
Sure. They told me I only have 2 minutes, and this is probably an hour conversation. But we've done really well in the last 10, 11 years in recruiting events to come to Oklahoma City, whether it's high-profile events, whether it's lower-profile events, or anything like that. So there's a really big difference between youth events, collegiate events, championship events, masters or adult events, all that kind of thing, and what you're choosing to bring into your city. So youth events, there's probably a youth event in Oklahoma City almost every single weekend or every single week that you may not know of. And one of the beautiful things about youth events or sporting events is we're not all in one area. We can be spread all across the city. So we utilize different areas of the city for different things. So whether it's tennis at the tennis center or soccer on the south side, or we use downtown and the big venues, but we're all over the place. And so that's one of the really good things about sports and bringing them in. And so you may not see them necessarily when they're here. And then you have larger events, that everybody sees, whether it's something like Women's College World Series, which we in 2015 signed a 20-year contract, so we have that event until 2035. Whether it's a bidded event, something that we work with the United States Olympic Committee, or what they call NGBs, which are our national governing bodies. So USA Softball, which is based here in Oklahoma City, is an NGB, but we work with US Rowing, we've worked with USA Triathlon, we've worked with a lot of different of those events to have them here. So it just is all different kinds of events, different levels of events, and how they affect. So one of the things I get asked all the time is, what kind of event makes either the most money or the biggest impact? And probably one of the biggest ones that people don't understand are youth girl events. And people ask me, why is that? Well, if you're a 15 or 14-year-old boy going to a baseball tournament, you're gonna go with your coach or two and maybe a dad or two or whatever, and you're gonna go and you're gonna spend your weekend playing umpteenth number of games. But if you're an under 14 girls softball tournament, your mom's going and your dad's going and your little brother's going, and he has no life because you play softball, and maybe your grandma or your aunt or whatever, and then you're gonna go as a team, and then you have your coaches, and as a team you're gonna go here, and then afterwards you're like, oh my gosh, the mall's across the street, so we're gonna go to the mall, and we haven't seen that movie yet, and we're gonna go over here. And so girls' youth sports actually are really sought after because they actually do attract more people and they come with more people. So it's not just the team, it's parents, it's grandparents, it's little brothers, little sisters, that kind of things. So we really work on a lot of girls' youth sports to come into town, and because they just quite honestly spend more money and they're really good tourists. Probably the best event, sporting event that we have, that's a multiple day event, would be Women's College World Series in the town. If you ask people in Bricktown, it's probably the highest local event that we have, with the people roaming around, and they're great tourists. They don't just go to the game. They go shopping, they go to the tourist attractions. They do all the things that you want people to do when they're in the city, and they tell other people, which is also what's really great. So those are a few things there. And then, yeah, I like I said, I can go on forever, so.
Thank you, Sue. Eric, the annual Red Earth Festival is an established Oklahoma City tradition. How has it changed from the first year that it's been here? And then on the other side of it, how has Oklahoma City changed as an events destination?
That's a great question, Natalie. Appreciate being here and seeing everybody today. We just celebrated our 33rd annual Red Earth Festival last June. And we started in 1987. And the Red Earth Festival started in the chamber. I don't think a lot of people realize that, but we were reeling from the National Finals Rodeo, had just left town and had been lured away to Las Vegas. So city leaders and tourism officials and community leaders, the business community, what can we do in Oklahoma City to have a signature event? Well, what makes us special? Well, you know, Oklahoma is the home to 39 tribes. There are more tribes in Oklahoma than there are located in any other state. And with Oklahoma City being our capital, they thought, what a great idea to showcase what makes our capital, makes our city unique. And that's our Native American heritage. You know, only 3 of the tribes that are located in Oklahoma are actually from here. And the rest are from someplace else. They're from the Great Lakes, they're from the Florida Everglades, they're from New York City. And so our tribal traditions and customs and art are so diverse. It makes us unique. You know, you think of Native American art in Santa Fe, you think of silver jewelry and beautiful turquoise or black pottery. When you think of Oklahoma native arts, a lot of times people get a little bit of a blank stare. My theory is it's because our art is so diverse. They're as diverse as our tribal officials are. So when we first had our first Red Earth Festival back in 1987, we were trying to be a Santa Fe. And then we soon realized we don't need to be a Santa Fe, we need to be an Oklahoma City. And so since then we've been working towards making Red Earth a great event that showcases what makes our city special, and that's our native culture. So we've had ups and downs like any event, any event has. But after 33 years, we're here, and you know, we have artists that come from all over the country to our Red Earth Festival. And if you win an award for your artwork at Red Earth, that's a very prestigious honor. It's on the same scale as Santa Fe Indian Market, same scale as the Heard Museum in Arizona, and the same scale as the Idle George Museum in Indianapolis. Being a Red Earth Award winner is a prestigious honor. Then we have native dancers that come from all over too to compete for prize money. But what makes Red Earth unique in the powwow art market community or events is our huge non-Native American audience that we do attract. And we have just as many people that come from out of town as we do that come from locally. We have a large foreign visitor, a lot of people from Germany that come to Red Earth Festival. And this is what I always found. So I've worked there a long time, and we've had journalists from Australia and Scotland and Russia and China and everybody covering Red Earth. But a lot of our guests that are from other places, especially Germany, They'll start their travel in Chicago and travel Route 66. And they'll plan their trip so they're in Oklahoma City the second full weekend of June because they want to meet a real Indian. So I mean, we have people, where can I meet a real Indian? And it's like, chances are half the people you visited with already have Seminated blood, you know, because you never can tell. So, so that's kind of what we've seen. You know, we've seen a fledgling event that started in 1987, and now we have a mature event that's 33 years. We're planning our 34th festival, and we have a track record of showcasing beautiful native art.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, Lance, it's to you. deadCenter Film Festival definitely ups the cool factor here in Oklahoma City through the types of film and people that it attracts each year. I'd love for you to dive into that concept just a little bit more. And how does having a festival environment influence the culture and even the branding of a city?
Thank you. Thanks you for having me. This is deadCenter's 20th year, so we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. And kind of to highlight what I think we do, how many of you saw Hamilton? Who here saw Hamilton? So Elizabeth Gray is here with the Civic Center. Hamilton, who was here for 2 or 3 weeks. I haven't been to a dinner party or conversation that someone did not bring up Hamilton and how cool it was, whether I liked it, whether I didn't like it, did you understand the lyrics, blah, blah, blah. But it has absolutely dominated every conversation. And the same thing happened when Kehinde Wiley came. You know, Michael Anderson, who's a curator of the Oklahoma City Museum of Art, brings Kehinde Wiley here, who is arguably the best painter in the world at a certain point. And it just changes the fabric of the city. Everyone in town is talking about it. It attracts a different, diverse group to their organization. And that's what I think events do. So I think that while those aren't specific events like ours, it's the same concept in that if you say, hey, come over to my house sometime, well, when's that? But if you say, hey, come over to my house on Saturday, then you get them there. And that's what events do. So events give you a reason. It's like, oh, I've always heard Oklahoma City was awesome and on the rise, but I didn't really have an occasion to go there. So we bring 35,000 people a year to downtown Oklahoma City, and what we're highlighting is the Jones Assembly. We're showing them, oh my gosh, you will not believe the Jones Assembly. We put them up at 21C or the Colcord. We go to all these different museums. We're at the Oklahoma City Museum of Art. Our goal is to use our event to sell the city of Oklahoma City, and I think it used to be really kind of insular, where we were just watching movies, and it was basically trying to help the Oklahoma film industry get going. And now, after 20 years, I think the value we provide Oklahoma City is we give a pinpoint in the calendar when people are going to come to Oklahoma City. And what's great for us is that there's new venues and new things to see every time you come.
Absolutely.
And so I think events like Red Earth, like ours, and Pre to West. So 3 huge events: the Red Earth Festival, the Pre to West at the National Western Heritage Museum, and deadCenter are all the second weekend of June.
Absolutely.
And so every year, the 3 of our organizations go to Wichita and Tulsa and Fort Worth and Dallas and explain, if you come to Oklahoma City anytime, but if you come this weekend, you'll see the biggest Western art show, the biggest Native art show, and the biggest film festival in the region. And so events give people a reason to make that decision. Instead of thinking about coming to Oklahoma City, they come. And they have a reason to come, they have a time to come, they know what they're going to see. So I just think events provide that place in the calendar that allow us to show off everything else that's going on.
Absolutely.
Great point. That's a great point. Thank you very much. Okay, Chris, there are some proposed improvements to the arena being considered for MAPS 4. We know that those will be positive for the NBA team, but tell us a bit more as to how those would affect the arena you're standing as a venue for concerts and other events.
Well, I'm spoiled because the last 2 arenas I worked at, we built and opened brand new facilities. So when I came here, I was surprised to see how far the lifespan the crew here has gotten out of the original equipment. This venue is almost 20 years old already, and usually venues are designed and built to last 30 plus years to be modern facilities. So it's crucial that we invest in infrastructure and maintenance, the fan and guest experience, as well as the team development opportunities so they can be successful. We're looking at all kinds of options with our MAPS proposal, from expanded entrances, restaurants, and really focusing upstairs. Food courts and a brand new scoreboard and all new seats. We're wider, more comfortable. And so I think the guests would really appreciate what this proposal has to offer. And it's very important for us to stay modern because the touring industry is uber competitive. And newer venues are popping up all over the place. And for us in a mid-sized major market to continue to lure these acts, we have to have a modern facility. And we're proud to have all the diverse acts that played this year, from Khalid to 21 Pilots to Kenny Chesney to Mumford & Sons and your favorite Guns N' Roses, I'm sure. Right. So it's vital that we to stay competitive in the landscape. If we don't invest today, over time, we also shouldn't have the expectation that we'll keep getting what we've received now. So now's a great opportunity for us to add to the continuing transformational landscape in Oklahoma City.
Terrific. Okay, Sue, back down to you. Now that we understand a little bit more about what Oklahoma City has hosted in the past, I want you to help us envision what we could be. What untapped potential for sporting events do you see in Oklahoma City?
That's kind of my everyday job, is to see what we can do and who we can be, and I love it. We are right on the precipice of being even better than we already are. We are right there. So before I kind of get into that question, I want to kind of elaborate on what Lance said. So when you talk about all these events at one time and bringing people in town, think about the last weekend in April. So you've got the marathon, you've got the arts festival, you've got Dodgers games, you've got Thunder playoff games, and all of that accumulates on one weekend and even one day, and what that means for Oklahoma City and the number of people that it brings. Think about the first two weekends in June. You've got Women's College World Series. We've had Women's College World Series and NBA finals at the same time. And then you've got all these festivals the next weekend, the amount of people that come in for all of these things. So I see that as our future, not just 1 or 2 weekends a year, but multiple weekends a year of what we can do. So the NCAA bid process is actually opening on Monday, this upcoming Monday, and it's a bid process for 4 years. So it's 23, 24, 25, and 26. And I'll be bidding on very specific events that we want to come back or want to host in Oklahoma City. And so venues are very important, because Event 101, if you don't have the venue, no matter what, you can't have the event. So venues are super important as to what can go on. And that's not just true in the sports world. If you don't have the right venue for a music venue or a theater venue or a concert, you cannot host them. So venues are number one as to what we do and how we do it. So NCAA events are coming up. The Olympics. Now let's just think about this for a second. The Olympics. The Olympics are going to be in Tokyo this time next year in 2020. USA softball is going to be back in the Olympics after 3 Olympics of not being in it. USA softball is the number 1 softball team in the world right now, and hopefully they'll come back and bring gold. So I want you guys all to watch it. It'll be super early in the morning, like 6 a.m., but you guys need to watch it next year. But you've got events like that, and how we can move forward on this Olympic level and move forward with not just softball, but how can we move forward on things on the river, because that is an Olympic training site. How can we grow with that, and what else can we do? But I think one of the things that everyone needs to remember, and I don't care if it's a sporting event, if it's a music, if it's art, whatever it is you have to attend. The most important thing is attending these things. We don't get bigger unless the people here actually attend and go. And I'm not saying you have to attend everything all the time. Who has the time? But if it's something you really want to go, if you didn't go see Hamilton, I mean, shame on you. It was an amazing play. But I mean, we have some amazing new music venues. Like, go see. If you haven't gone to a live concert, the only thing I ask is you be quiet and enjoy the concert. Like, go to these places. If you didn't know Women's College World Series was in Oklahoma City, you need to come to a game. They are super fun and super exciting. If you haven't been to a Thunder game in a long time, go. If you haven't been to a Dodgers game, I was just there last night, go. You don't get new, you don't get better if you don't take advantage of what you already have. And I think that's super important for everybody on the panel to really, for us, we know that, but we want to make sure that everybody else knows that. So the potential of Oklahoma City is not just in sports, but it's in everybody that's sitting on this panel up here. And really the potential is in you all. You all have to enjoy it, whether it's a horse show or the state fair, whether it's the zoo, whether it's the museum. Like, we've got some really, really kick butt stuff in Oklahoma City. I usually wouldn't say that, but my big boss is here. We have some amazing things in Oklahoma City, and if you haven't been, you need to go. You need to go.
Okay, you heard it here. Sue told us to be quiet. Really? Really, Sue?
Only at concerts. I didn't pay to hear you talk.
But not at Christmas.
Right?
I'm just saying.
And movies, quiet.
Right.
Eric, Red Earth obviously represents an important way for us to highlight and celebrate our Native American heritage.
Right.
How do you see Oklahoma City's appeal as a Native destination changing?
Well, there's a lot on the horizon. We all know that, with the Native American Cultural Center being built along the river. I think that when it opens, it's going to be spectacular, something that everybody in the city will be proud of. It'll be on par with your beautiful museum, Natalie, at the Cowboy Museum. Red Earth it will be opening a new art gallery and art center in 2021. We have relocated to what's called the Bank First Tower now, formerly the Chase Building and the Liberty Bank for us folks that have been here a long time. But we're thrilled about that. And so we will be having our new art center and gift gallery opening in that lobby in 2021. And until then, we're doing art shows, satellite shows throughout the state. So we'll be doing shows in Claremore and Willow Rock and Bartlesville, and we'll be doing things in Wewoka, and we're doing our Tree Fest where you used to be at OSU OKC. So we think there's a lot on the horizon. Of course, Native culture is, what I said before, is what makes it unique. No other state can claim what we have in our Native culture. And we have people that come in all the time and ask, where else can we go? And I send them to the Cowboy Museum. I send them to the Oklahoma History Center. I send them to Exhibit C in Bricktown. And I tell them the story about the Native American Cultural Center and how spectacular it will be. So I think that Native is something that all Oklahomans are proud of, and I just think that the future is bright for Native American culture and tourism in our state.
Indeed. Okay, another festival that's had a great impact on a city is South by Southwest in Austin. So Lance, are there any additional lessons to be learned from that event, especially when it comes to pivoting the festival content to other areas of focus?
Yes. So so I've been to South by Southwest the last 10 years, and it started as a music conference. And Austin is an interesting city because they just named themselves Music City, and then basically have kind of gained that reputation. And they do have 60 music venues per street seemingly. And so they started this music festival, and then in '94 added a film festival, and then more recently added a tech festival, and that's where Twitter launched. And so so it's been fun for us to watch them grow and see how it affects their city. And I think they have like a $100 million impact on the city of Austin for those 2 weeks. And so we've been looking at how can we branch out, because our mission as an organization was to support the art of film. And so a few years ago, we changed our mission to use the art of film to inspire creativity across other sectors. And so we have started a virtual reality deal. So we started something called deadCenter, where we added virtual reality films 3 years ago. We had one film the first year, because we felt at first it was a little bit of a gimmick. But so the first year we brought in a film. Then 2 years ago we added a virtual cinema. So we have 20 virtual reality films, and you go to 21C. It's free. You put on a headset and you watch them. And we had none made in Oklahoma. Now this last year we had 3 made in Oklahoma. We attracted 3,000 people, and what we've kind of come up with is that the film industry has changed. So when I started making movies, I had my first film at deadCenter in 2006, and you either saw it at deadCenter or you did not see it, because they were not streaming online, they were not streaming services. And now in 2019, you can see 1 million movies on YouTube and Netflix and Hulu and every place on earth. And so we're trying to figure out, well, what makes us special? And what makes us special is the event side of what we do. And so our event screenings, so we started partnering we got new partners. We now partner with Oklahoma City Thunder for our outdoor, and we get 3,000 people coming to our outdoor screenings because the Thunder helps us market them. And then with this technology, we started working with new partners. So Tapstone Energy, who's one of our big partners, came on, and they had all their staff volunteered to basically run our virtual cinema. And then we worked with Baker Hughes to find out what is Baker Hughes using virtual reality and augmented reality for. And then we talked to Cox, and then we talked to different companies across Oklahoma, medical companies, startups, and our goal is how is the technology that's being used in film also affecting different industries? And so we believe that broadening our horizons like South by Southwest is the only way to stay relevant. And so for us, we didn't feel like there was enough for us to go into a music festival yet, but so we went pretty hard into a tech festival. And I want to give one more example of what's happening. So Laura Massino over here is with Factory Obscura. We've had amazing visual arts in Oklahoma for a very long time, but now she and her group have brought that together and created an event where they have like 45 different artists working together. I think it opens September 20th or 21st up here on 9th Street. But that's a new way of looking at art because they take these 45 different artists, allow them to collaborate, and all of a sudden it creates something that people are going to drive from all over the region to come to Oklahoma City to see what's new in visual art. And we're trying to do the same thing with technology and film.
Mm-hmm. How can you not get excited about what's going on in Oklahoma City, right? If nothing else, the enthusiasm on this stage with these panelists is extraordinary. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you all the same question, and then just answer it one at a time. Which of the proposed developments potentially in MAPS 4 are you most intrigued by? And how would it increase your event's ability to attract more people? Chris, you want to start?
Very briefly, I think in many communities, sports, the arts, and entertainment are your window to the outside world. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important that we invest in the big and the small. And to echo Sue's comments, to me, whether it's a jazz club of 50 people all the way up to an arena show, we need all those venues to be successful, those events to be supported. So obviously very biased. We need to invest in the arena to keep us modern and competitive, and we want people to be proud of their event center in downtown Oklahoma City.
Thank you. Eric?
Well, MAPS 4 is a different animal than the other maps that we've had. I think that a lot of it is neighborhood related and community oriented. Of course, the previous maps projects that have been beneficial that are just now coming to fruition, we're excited about Scissortail Park and the opportunities it's going to afford our organization because it will serve as another venue for us to hold events. We could have children's powwows, we could have Native American blues bands, we could have all kinds of things going on there. We're going to be participating in some of the grand opening ceremonies with some performers, and so right now we're thrilled with Scissortail Park and working alongside with them.
Terrific. Lance?
I'm a massive fan of all the MAPS programs that have happened. I just couldn't be more excited about it, and I think it's been the reason we have transformed the city. But the two that stick out to me as the most important are redoing the arena. I think there is nothing that has been more important to Oklahoma than the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it doesn't matter who's on the team. I think it has given us international exposure that we absolutely do not get anywhere else. And people come to our festival now with the hopes of being involved with the Thunder, and so I think there's just nothing that is a better investment for us than improving the Chesapeake Arena to keep that NBA franchise happy. And then the other one is the all sports arena with the soccer, with soccer at the middle of it. For me, I think soccer is the future of all sports in America, and certainly in Oklahoma City, the largest population growth is coming from people that are absolutely crazy about soccer. And so I think diversifying how we look at sports is very important.
Yep.
Thank you. Sue?
So again, love all MAPS projects. But I think the transformational ones are what the traditionally, we did in the first map. So venues, whether it's, upgrading and keeping Chesapeake Energy the way that it needs to be and being able to compete with the other NBA cities, whether it's a new arena out at State Fair Park and the amount of money, the amount of exposure that we get out of State Fair Park between horse shows. The horse shows are are such an amazing part of Oklahoma City that so many people don't even realize is here. We need to really, concentrate and make sure that we continue to support that. And then finally is the multi-sport venue. And that one is probably near and dear to my heart, maybe even a little bit more because of the things that we could do and the potential that could happen with it. And I would love to see high school football in the capital city. Like these little towns that come in and their whole town is now dark because they're all here watching high school football. I mean, that's special. That's not something that you can get every day. That's special to the kids. It's special to their parents. It's special to their town. I do also believe that soccer it's the universal sport, and I think we need to be a part of that. I think it's a great venue, not only for sports, but for events, for festivals, for music festivals, for all sorts of different things. What some people seem to forget about events is you have to be really careful with site planning and how ingress and egress and how people get in and out. And if it's a ticketed event, how do you make sure that people are in there that are supposed to be in there and keep people out that aren't supposed to be? And so when you have an event like that is already contained, it makes those things easier. So to make your event easier to produce, and it makes it ultimately less expensive to produce. And that's what we want. And more venues just ultimately means more events. And whether it's, really, more venues just mean more events.
Yeah.
She's absolutely right, and I'm so glad that she mentioned the new arena. Many of you all in this room may not realize how very important those horse shows are to Oklahoma City. They bring in millions and millions and millions of dollars, both in direct and indirect revenue, as well as hotel room nights. I mean, an event over at the arena may last 12 nights. So it's just a terrific boon to Oklahoma City, and I'm so glad you mentioned it. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go for the speed round. Chris, to wrap up, tell us the #1 dream event you want to see in Oklahoma City, whether it's by recruiting it or hosting it or even creating it yourself.
The three I would think about would be a legacy act like a Rolling Stones that you typically wouldn't get, whether it be a mega sports event like a Final Four, or something totally obscure that you wouldn't think of, like an award show like the Academy of Country Music Awards, luring something like that to market like that ours. I don't think that's thought about or talked about outside of the majors. I think that's something that we could think about at some point as a possibility.
Thank you. Okay, how about you, Eric?
Well, we talked about this at the office, and we talked about how music is something that transcends all ages, all races, all people. And Lance, you mentioned something about how South by Southwest started with a big musical festival. And I think Oklahoma City could be ripe for something like that, maybe a country music festival or something. And we're building the venues to have those in, so I think that would be something that would be fine.
Thank you. Lance?
Yeah, a music festival I think would be a great addition to our city.
Right. Okay, Sue.
I've had the most time to think, and I'm not sure what I would pick.
Well,
I do agree with like a music festival. I think that one of the things I really try to do is, because we're not the largest city in the United States, is instead of having a bunch of small things, I want to have things, combine them and have something bigger. So you take these festivals and you add to them, right? So if you already have these festivals on the same weekend, what can we add to them? Like South by Southwest also has a rowing and an indoor rowing competition, so it has sporting events. So what can we take that we already have that we can add on to make uniquely ours? And there's a lot of things like that. I'd love to see. I'd love to see more NCAA events come in, in that bid process. I'd love to see another finals. I'd love to see, this time with the parade. But I think that the sky is the limit on what we can do. But I think what we need to really think about is what fits us really well. We're not Austin. We're not Nashville. We're not Louisville. Like, we need to be who we are, which is Oklahoma City, and we need to be authentic to that to that and what that means. Right. So it could be lots of things. Really
thank you all.
Answer.
Okay, so now I'm going to open the floor up to questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and a chamber staffer will bring you a microphone. Please have a question. Because my parking meter doesn't run out for another 15 minutes, so.
Yes, there's one.
Hello, Elizabeth Gray with the Civic Center Music Hall. You're lucky I'm awake right now because as these fine panelists said, it's been quite a past few weeks for me. But kind of along those lines for venues or organizations like the Civic Center Music Hall, how do we capitalize on partnering with some of the giants in the industry, here in Oklahoma City to either mutually benefit or mutually promote or just bring the bigger events to Oklahoma City? What do we need to do? Who do we need to contact? What do we need to start thinking of now?
I can start on that. I think, shameless plug, you talk to the Oklahoma City Convention and Visitors Bureau. We deal with many, many, many things on many different levels, whether it's a sporting event or a conference. And so talking to us and making sure you're on our list of venues, then we give that information out to pretty much any convention, any meeting, any sporting event that comes into town. And just having good relationships, I think that's one of the things Oklahoma City is really good at is the overall relationship that everybody has here and everybody wants to help. So, making sure we're update on your venue, making sure, if there's anything new coming along, and just making yourself available as to say, let's go to lunch and, we're looking at this, or do you have something you want to bring in that can fit in with something that we have? Don't, come to us, I think is the idea. Like Lance, you want people to come to you with your ideas. We want people to come to us with your ideas, like, my kid hosts or goes to this tournament every year. How can we host it in Oklahoma City? Like, bring that to me. And I think that's how you move forward with that. We're all very available, and we all, want to make things bigger and better and collaborate more.
Thank you, Eric.
We're all about partnering, and like Lance said, we've gone on media blitzes for almost 10 years because instead of competing against each other for our events that are all in the same weekend, we thought, let's package it as a whole and make Oklahoma City a destination for that second weekend of June. And you'll see the best native art, the best Western art, and the best in film. And when we've gone on media blitzes to Arkansas, Kansas, and Texas, and they say, the real story here is not your events, but how you work together. They said, we've never had a group come with 3 individual organizations that come as a team with no competitiveness to each other. We're partnering right now because we don't have a home until 2021 for exhibits. Let's talk. Let's do an Red Earth exhibit.
All right, y'all can hear the rain out there, so have a lot of questions. Otherwise, you're going to get soaked. Questions? Over there.
Over there, over here.
There's some there.
Show for many, many years. And we really need a lot of people to come out and see these events. The Quarter Horse Show has about 80 vendors that come, and they're there probably 2 weeks. And you guys, you've never seen such beautiful animals in your life. It's a wonderful event, and I would like to see a lot more people in Oklahoma City come and partake in these events.
And say again what the events are. Folks didn't
It's the
hear.
Morgan Horse Show, the Grand National Morgan Horse Show, and they're out of Idaho, I believe, and they have been here. They have made this a destination for their national event for probably 25 or 30 years. And the American Quarter Horse Show, they've been here for many, many years also. And these, you guys, you need to come and experience it. And you got free parking at the fairgrounds. That's a big plus.
Thank you.
I think there's some over there.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kathy McCracken with Children's Hospital Foundation. And first I want to say what's happened in Oklahoma City in the last 10 years has helped me in one of my big priorities, and that's attracting pediatric specialists to come to Oklahoma City. They really like seeing some of the things that we now have to offer that we didn't have 10 and 15 years ago. So kudos to you, thank you. But what I'd like to know from all of you is when you're talking to producers of events or the visitors that are coming, what are you hearing from them, maybe the top 1 or 2 things that they're saying, if you just had this, we would come, or we hope that in the future you would just have this. And
A new convention center. We're getting that. I mean, seriously, our convention center is very small for our city. So having a new convention center, having a headquarter hotel that has a significant number of rooms that we can put big blocks in, that's a big deal. I'll tell you one of the things, instead of people saying what you need to have, is what I hear all the time throughout the country and when people visit and we bring people to town is, oh my God, this place is amazing. And that's what I love to hear. Like, you can talk and talk and talk about it to people who aren't from here, and they just don't get it until they get here. And that's what's really, really fun about my job personally is the jaw opens and drops. It's like, oh my God, I had no idea. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, I've not been lying to you for the last 5 years, but it's really exciting, to see that. But I think some of these new things that we're doing, the new convention center is going to be transformational in bringing visitors in. The new Omni Hotel is transformational in bringing visitors in. And then having more, again, it goes back to venues, having more space to do more things. Scissortail Park is going to be amazing. And the things that you can just walk around and do, and the things that that can be programmed to do are going to be, I hate to say the word again, but transformational for Oklahoma City. It's the next step that we're going to.
And I was going to say, my experience has been just what Sue said, in that, we have great surveys that we send to all the people that come, and every time it's like, I cannot believe that you all have river rafting. I cannot believe that you have a 21C. And so for us, it has been, every year, all the comments are about the newest, coolest thing that's come to Oklahoma City. People were blown away that we had a streetcar. And the streetcar went right down where our 3,000 people are in outdoor screening at Myriad Gardens, and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of you all having public transportation. It's like, yeah. And so I feel like all the steps that all these MAPS programs, all of these businesses like the Jones, like 21C, those absolutely change people's impression. And now we get filmmakers asking us, how can I be on a panel? Distributors, which we used to have to pay to come meet with our filmmakers, are now saying, hey, pick me, not the other guy from our company, because I want to spend the weekend in Oklahoma City. So ours has been kind of the opposite, that look at all these great things.
And I want to piggyback on what they say too. When we did have our art center open for 10 years, we were at 30 years, we were at the Science Museum by the zoo, but for the last 10 years we've been in the ground floor of the Santa Fe parking garage, which is a lovely place. But we had people come in from all over the world every day, and it was crazy because you wouldn't think there'd be people from Australia in Oklahoma City on a Thursday that walk in there. And we heard this all the time, how clean our downtown was. They just like, you can't believe how clean your city is. And then they also say how friendly your people are. Yeah. And everybody has a smile on their face, and everybody says thank you. And I would tell them, I said, well, we kind of expect that because we're around that all the time. And when we go other places and we don't get that, we notice.
Chris?
I think they summed it up really well. But I think all the boxes are checked. I think from our standpoint, it's doing the job of communicating that we do have those, because like you guys mentioned, once they come, they want to come back.
Right.
And so I think it's just be more leaning into that, more proactively communicating the great things we do have.
All right, another question? Over there.
Hi, I'm Graham Colton with the Jones Assembly and the Social Order Dining Collective. My question probably starts with Sue and would be for all of you guys. My question is, in November particularly, we have some new gun laws that are going to be going into effect. And I'm curious of how that's going to affect doing these great things that we all want to do, as it certainly affects us.
Sure. I'm not an expert in that, and I would probably defer to some other people at the chamber or the state or city level. But what I do know about that is it doesn't necessarily take effect on private events and private property. So you own Jones, you can prohibit guns from going in, open carry, concealed carry, that kind of thing. So we have events that we have contracted with that the event has a policy, a no gun policy, and those are still in effect for even after November 1st. So it doesn't necessarily affect some of the things, but we worked really hard to make sure that it didn't, because we don't want to lose any of these large events that we already have or the potential of getting new events in. I think it's a legit question for sure, because it does make some people very, very nervous. I don't think it's going to necessarily affect the way people think are going to affect in very specific private events, private property, those kinds of things. Because even currently right now, you can put on a private building, no guns allowed, and that still stands. So, because I know there's a lot of issues with the event in September.
Eric, what do you think about the
Well, we don't have our own facility, so we lease the space. So we currently lease from the Cox Convention Center. And so, it's up to them, and as far as, we go by what they have determined is what they're going to do. I don't have much else to say.
Lance, did you?
It won't affect us except for the outdoor screening, so I mean, all of our events are either movies or, very drinking heavy galas, and so we don't allow guns and we never will. So, yeah.
All right.
However, he's right, because there are a lot of public festivals that are happening on public lands, and I work with several of them throughout the state, as you well know, and it's becoming more and more of an issue because there's a lot of these groups that are out there that are constantly complaining that they have the right to bear arms at our festivals, and because we're on public land, we can't prevent that. It's something that needs to be addressed. Sooner or later, there's going to be a major incident. Look at what happened in Vegas. It's going to happen. I think the chambers and the law enforcement and the state chamber needs to make this an agenda item, and we need to block this. This is a problem. It's an issue, and it's a danger, and it's a risk. And one day, the people who have the private facilities can bar it. And even your film festival can bar it. But the larger festivals, the larger concerts, the outdoor festivals and venues around the state are at risk. And it's a challenge, and it needs to be addressed.
I think the biggest answer to that is call your city councilman, call your representative at the state. I mean, make your wishes known. I mean, be actively involved in what you believe in.
I think that's right. Anyone else with a question? All right, let's thank our panel. Oh, wait a minute, one more. Did you?
So I know soccer is big up in kind of sports, so it's college. Any talk of bringing a major or a senior PGA tournament to Oklahoma City?
We actually had U.S. Senior Open in 2016 up in Oak Tree, and that went over really well. So those tournaments are very expensive, I'm not going to lie. And you have to have the right kind of course to put those in. What people don't realize is when you have something like that and you have an event that lasts a week, 10 days, and then it takes a week to 10 days to set up and a week to 10 days to break down, those courses are usually private, and people pay a lot of money to be a member of a private course. So for them not to have access to their course that they pay a lot of money to be a part of is sometimes a difficult thing to sway the board to do. And so it's those are a little bit harder than you would think to get. I would probably say once a decade is a really good indicator of a city or a course having something like that event, in town. But we did just have one in 2016.
Will you help me thank our panelists? The sun's come out. All right. Thank you guys so very much.
Thank you.
Get to my right place. I'd like to again thank our signature sponsor, Cox Business, and our corporate sponsor, ADG, for their participation in today's event. We hope you'll join us next month for our September Forum. Next month on Wednesday, September 18th, you'll hear a panel discussion about mental health and justice reform here in Oklahoma City, an overview of the situation, what treatment and diversion options are available, and what more needs yet to be done. You can learn more about that event at www.okcchamber.com/September Forum. You can also read all about the Chamber's events and an additional Oklahoma City news at velocity.com. Thank you for being here, and we're adjourned.
Good to meet you. Excellent job. Thanks for meeting you as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for all you do.
I should have looked. I think I may have known you in a previous life.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Representatives for